Hi there.
The big games keep coming for you and West Ham. How are you striking the balance at the moment between this exciting European run and, of course, the top four race where just this week rivals Arsenal drop points?
Yeah, well, we can only look at ourselves and try and win whatever game comes up next. We've got a really big game now against Lyon, so we're focusing on that. And hopefully we can keep the run going because, obviously we're really enjoying being in the competition. Last year when we qualified, we were thrilled with it, big achievement for us. And, we're doing well. We're doing well in the competition. We've had a really good run and we want to try and keep it going.
How are the players, in your view, coping with the demand and the excitement of it this time of the season? And also, what's your team news, in particular Jarrod Bowen and his recovery since his successful return at the weekend?
Well, we're really excited by being in this competition. Getting to the quarter-final of European competition is a big deal for any club, and probably one even more so for us, maybe who weren't expected to be in it probably last season. And I think the run we've had in it this year has been very good. So long may that continue. But we've got Jarrod Bowen's trained. He seems fine. He was involved in the game. He's not picked up any other injuries, so I expect Jarrod to be fine. So I don't know what your other question was in that, but there was about four in that one question there.
No, I think you covered it. I think you covered it well. Thank you.
Ian?
David, you've taken this competition seriously from day one, the very first game. You've made it clear as to why. Now it's getting very serious, the competition, isn't it? And whether you like it or not, you must be thinking about beyond Lyon, if you can get beyond Lyon, and what ultimately might be possible.
Well, I'm not thinking beyond Lyon at the moment, and I've got to tell you, we take every competition really serious, whether it be the League Cup or whether it be the FA Cup. We treat them all with the same importance. But this one is obviously a little bit more special because, to be in amongst all the European teams and things that we've not had for years is really important for us. But we can't think any further. We're playing against a team who 2 years ago I think were in the Champions League semi-final. So we would be crazy to be thinking any further than this first game especially, which will be different. It'll have different connotations from what we've had in the game against Seville. So we have to understand that, and even supporters and as a club will need to realise this is a different setup now because we're at home in the first leg of a quarter-final. Relatively new to us, and the game might be slightly different.
How does that dynamic change from Seville? Seville, you're away first,
yeah.
So you knew what you had to do at home. Now, is there more pressure on you to make the game tomorrow?
Well, I think it's really important that you try not to lose the game tomorrow. I think that would always be the key. The difference in coming back from Seville was that we knew there was something, there was a target to try and reach. We had to try and beat a really good team. Could we do it? Nobody was quite sure, but we did on the night. The difference with this is we're just about to kick off. We've not really laid eyes on each other. Lyon won't know a great deal about us. We don't know a great deal about Lyon. So sometimes it takes to the second game before you get a better idea about each other. So the first game will be one we want to try and play well, impose ourselves because we're at home, but also be mindful that there is another game to come after that as well.
And you mentioned that you don't know that much about Lyon. Obviously, you've done your scouting, but there's a few players there you will know. Tanguy Ndombele on loan from Spurs. Muslim Bele used to be at Fulham and played in Scotland. So it's not, whereas before, maybe 10 or 15 years ago, you completely go into the unknown. There are still players that you do know about.
No, when I say I don't know, we don't know is that we've just not sort of laid eyes and played against them and know them exactly. We know them as individuals. We watch them in the games in the French league. But if you're actually talking about coming up against them, we'll know much more about them after we've played them in the first game, just like they will know the same about us as well. So really looking forward to it. Great occasion for us at West Ham, and as I said earlier, we want to try and keep this run going if we can.
See you. Jack?
Afternoon, David. Just outside of Jarrod, are there any other injury news, team news? Ben Johnson all right for tomorrow?
Ben Johnson's trained, so I'm hoping that Ben will be okay. Vladimir, we've brought him back. We're still not totally convinced that he's 100% Vladimir, so he might just need a bit more time. So that's it. Lanzini is suspended, but he's trained today a little bit for the first time. So we're beginning to get one or two back, which will be helpful. But at the moment, we seem to be okay.
obviously focus on tomorrow, but when the draw comes out, they look further ahead. Have you banned talk of Barcelona or anything like that in the changing room?
We have not even talked a minute more than Lyon. How could we dare? And we wouldn't. Just too big a game, too big a club. We're playing a really strong team in European football over many years. So we find it that we wouldn't even think about it. So none of us have considered it. And obviously in between that, we've just played Everton. We've got a league game next week as well. So no, one game at a time. It's sad, but that is it.
Is it hard to keep players focused like that when there is so much excitement around these sort of games and potential things going forward?
Well, I think it's great that we've got excitement, and I think it's great that we've raised the expectation level at West Ham, and generally, there's more talk about West Ham than there's ever been before, and obviously part of being in this competition. But ultimately, if you want to be kept talking about, and you want to keep up with the top teams, and you want to be in European competitions, you've got to win mainly your domestic football games, or your domestic cup competitions. So really, we have to make sure we keep our focus on them all. We can't just say we're only focusing on the UEFA Cup, because we're not. We're actually also trying to focus on having a good league position as well.
And just finally, you spoke about this being, quite new for a lot of people at the club, this level of European football. What do you make that in a lot of places your favourites for the tie?
What do
you make of the fact that you're favourites for the tie in a few places, given the inexperience at this level?
Well, I'm pleased, because normally, if you're made favourites, it's the people who make you favourites, the bookies or whatever, then, they're quite often earn more money than they lose, I think. But overall, we know that if you're going to do that, you're going to have to earn it, and we have to show it. But I find that quite difficult, considering that we're relatively newcomers. Lyon have had loads of experience, and I know they've had some changes in difficult times and situations, but I've got to say that they're a really, really big football club in France, and we'll have our work cut out to get through. We know that it'll be a really hard tie.
Tony?
Hi, Tony.
Hi, David. Is this with this being at home first leg, is this a game where your players have got to be intelligent, mature about it, and not go chasing it, that sort of thing? Yeah,
you're right. I think all those things are the things which we found out a bit about the Seville game, because how could we cope with it? How could our mentality be? Could we play correctly without giving up a goal? So I think there's a lot of aspects which need to come into it now, and I think having that experience over the years makes a big difference if you know how to do it or what's expected. We've not really had that, but what I do have is I've got a team now with more international players than we've ever had before here at West Ham, who play regularly for their international teams. So all that experience, and quite a few of them, like the Czech boys, have played for Slavia in Champions League. So a lot of the boys had European experience. So I'm hoping that they can bring it to the table and help us in a slightly different game, I feel, than what the Seville game will be. So we have to make sure we manage that as well.
Hi, David.
Hi there.
If I could just ask you about Jarrod, how refreshing is it to have him for this game?
Well, it's really good that we've got him back, because he got us a goal on Sunday. He's played a huge part. I said at the weekend, it would have been, who knows if he'd have been in the England squad or not for the games that have just gone past, and it's really sad that he missed the opportunity to find out if he would have been. But overall, he's been really good for us. I think my bit is I'm not worried about his fitness. It's a bit like when you've been out for 5 or 6 weeks. Sometimes your first game is okay. Sometimes it's the 1 or 2 games after which can be the harder ones. So, but I'm hoping that he'll be fine in everything he does.
What does he provide your team? I'm sure you say you're happy to have him, but when you have him, especially for a game like the quarterfinals of the Europa League, what does he offer to you?
He offers us. He offers us width as where he's been in his career. He's been played off the side, but he's also been someone who can score goals. And to have players in those areas nowadays, in days gone by, the nines were always the key goal scorers. Nowadays you can get people who are scoring goals from the inside left, inside right. So Jarrod gives us that. He's also, more importantly for us, he's improved as an all-round footballer, and generally his positioning, the job he does for the team, is greatly improved. And I think that he's taken time, coming from the Championship here in England, and sort of taking time to grow into a Premier League player. But I've got to say that his contribution this year and last year has been excellent. Last year he made quite a few goals, quite a few assists, and he's doing it again this year, which is really good for us.
And finally, for me, the atmosphere for the Sevilla game was electric, the best I'd seen this season. Would you need something like that to get through Lyon, or at least get something for the second leg?
Yeah, this will be a different game because as what I'm trying to allude to a little bit, is that we had something to chase. We had something, the crowd knew exactly what we had to do. At the moment, there's a different game, and that's what I'm saying, is there's a different game. And even I talk about our players, the experience about our players. Our crowd is also got to be experienced as well, and realise that, hey, there's 2 games here. We need them. We need them really behind us like they were, because they were unbelievable against Seville. But we now need them to realise that we can't go gung ho and try to do things so quickly and win the game in the opening minutes. I hope we could, but it's less likely against the level of the teams you're playing, and also less likely because you're in the quarterfinals of the cup. You need to be careful with how we play.
Okay, Jordan.
Hi, I'm David.
Hi, John.
People talk about the inexperience in your side, but you've just knocked out the 6-time champions of this competition.
Yeah.
Do you want your players to have a bit of swagger going into this game, a bit of arrogance in a good way?
Yeah, I think we have. I think I know exactly what we've got. I might not tell you all exactly what I've got. So, but I know what we've got, and I know what I'm aiming for, and I know what I want the outcome to be, and I know exactly how I want the outcome to come around. So, but if we're honestly talking about a football club who are back in Europe, you'd have to say, well, we're new boys on the block. I bet you UEFA, which is great, are probably not expecting West Ham to be in this position. But that's what happens, and that's why we need to keep encouraging UEFA as well to keep bringing in other teams as well. Look how well we've done. Maybe we might not have got in this competition if there was different rules. So from that point of view, I really think that we want to show that we can challenge, and if we're at our best, which we have been probably in the early part of the season, I think we're a match for most teams, and we can be.
And do you think a team like Lyon would maybe be a bit more intimidated now they've seen you beat someone like Seville?
No, I don't think so. But we've beat Liverpool at home, but we've also lost to Brentford at home. If you want to put, and I'm not drawing comparison, I know we've got Brent. So you can beat big teams in maybe one-off games, but there's other games you can't win or we don't win. So whatever level you're at, winning any football matches is so difficult. So we know that we take nothing for granted. Every game is incredibly tough. Lyon are a side and a club who we've got big respect for in the way they've done things over many years, and I think most people would consider Lyon being a Champions League team more than a Europa team, because I think over many years they've been in and around the Champions League. I remember going to watch them working for UEFA maybe 2 years ago, maybe 3, where they played Juventus, I think, in the quarterfinals, or Juventus at Lyon. I was at the game working for Lyon at the time, so it's not that long ago that they were really challenging with the real top teams.
And just finally, Lyon may use their new signing Tete. He was signed from Shakhtar Donetsk on an emergency loan. Premier League clubs haven't been allowed to sign players from Ukraine and Russia, but Lyon have. What's your thought on that? And do you think it does give them a slight advantage that they have been able to sign a player that is eligible for this game, and the Premier League haven't?
And also a good player, So they're signing a good player, which I think is something which we. By the way, we would really like to support all the Ukrainian football players and give them opportunities to play. We really would, but I'm not sure. I think it would have maybe been a fairer thing to say that they couldn't come into the European competitions at this stage. I think they could go and play in the country, but the Premier League hasn't allowed us to do it, and but France is allowed and UEFA has allowed. So maybe it's the FA, maybe it's the Premier League here who have not allowed us those same provisions as say another country.
But does it frustrate you that can happen?
I have to. I just got on with it. I'm not thinking about it. I couldn't tell you if I'm frustrated or not. I would know when I would be, but I don't want to sort of get caught up in it too much, because I've given you an idea what I think. I think that there is a level of things maybe not quite balanced, but I would really like to support every Ukrainian football player if they could come and play. And he's actually not a Ukrainian football player, he's a Brazilian football player, so my apologies for that. So a Brazilian, or who have to get out, you're hoping that they could go and play somewhere.
Gary first.
You're obviously sort of advocating your team to be cautious, but what's the balance between them being cautious and then getting a bit too timid? Because obviously, as you referenced the Liverpool game, where they obviously went at it, in the Seville game they went at it, and there's a danger of that.
Who wasn't at it? Sorry.
With the Liverpool game and with the Seville game, they obviously went at it, and they were. Is there a danger of them becoming almost a bit too timid with the caution?
Yeah, well, we're not putting that over, but we're also, I think we're just trying to be mindful that it's a game which, as I said in my just about right away, I says it's a game we want to win, but it's obviously a game that we don't want to lose, because we have a second game to play as well. So I think that cautious is the wrong word. I think we are just trying to understand for the first time probably in European football here as a club how we deal with a home game first, when the last one we dealt very well with when we were away from home. Thought we went there, got a half decent result against a really good side, and the game we had at home we were able, I don't think we played with a gay abandon against Seville. We played with a great deal of caution against Seville, which in time we got our goal, had to be patient, got our goal, and then we sort of saw it out in extra time. So I think you've got to be mindful how you play the games, and this is another game we'll need to think about.
Ian, finally.
Sorry, just one more follow-up. How do you think West Ham's progression to the quarter-finals is refreshing for English football in terms of the way UEFA look at it? Because generally, getting to the latter stages is always the top 6 clubs in this country. Man United, Man City, Liverpool, Spurs, Arsenal, Chelsea, who always get to semi-finals and finals. But to have a club like West Ham for the first time in 40 years at this stage, do you think it's refreshing for UEFA and for the Premier League?
I think it probably shows more of the standard and the levels of the Premier League. But for many years, the Spanish have dominated this competition. If you look at Seville, we talked about Seville earlier, how many times Seville have won it, and when you look at the even at the moment, there's Barcelona still in the competition. We see Villarreal in the Champions League. So I think that for us it's a great to be there, great to be sort of challenging the top teams and being in the competition, getting mentioned. Yeah, and I do think that we want to give everybody opportunities in football, and we want to also give every club an opportunity to also do well in football. And we've taken our opportunity from qualifying last year, and we want to keep this going now this year, because we've made a good go of it, and hopefully we can continue. And I'm laughing at that.